More Fulci.
More Fulci.
More Fulci.
Falling head over heels, and you just can't stop. Falling into the arms of a lover. Falling head over heels, baby, from the top. And you hope it'll go on forever.
Greetings, Earthlings! Welcome back to 7th Street. Oh boy, if I keep this up, I'm gonna run out of Fulci films to do. I don't know if it's a mistake, me cramming them all together like this, but you guys watch it, so I'll keep making them. I promise, though, this'll be the last one for a while. Picture it. Sicily, 1987. The once booming Italian horror scene that sold out theaters all around the world is now coming to an end. The reigning kings of the genre, Dario Argento, Lamberto Bava, Umberto Lenzi, and Lucio Fulci, are now all forced to move into Italian television work. The days of international theatrical releases are a thing of the past for Mr. Fulci, and yet he begins work on his last great film, Aenigma. Now, as I've said before, I do really enjoy all of Fulci's films, but I stand by my comment that Aenigma is the last great Fulci film.
Thank you.
Even starting with the poster, which is, in my opinion, one of the better Fulci movie posters. I especially like the way that the possessed Eva's hair turns into these black spider claw looking things. It's kind of like a Medusa head. And that title, it's kind of strange, isn't it? I've never seen the word enigma spelled that way before, but I guess either spelling is acceptable as far as I can tell. It's just sorta weird.
She's retarded.
The movie begins with a somewhat convincing miniature of St. Mary's College, a boarding school for girls located just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. There we meet a lonely, gaunt, unattractive girl named Kathy. She's become the center of a cruel practical joke played on her by a group of students and the weird molesty gym teacher at her school. I'm just gonna get this out of the way now. This movie totally normalizes the idea of a student-teacher sexual relationship.
Do you really want to go dancing, Kathy?
I don't know. I guess I'm confused, sir.
No, Kathy, I'm not sir to you. Just Fred.
Oh, good. I wanted to call you Fred. Only I was afraid. Oh, this is so wonderful. I wanted you so much. I never thought you'd ever notice me.
You see, Kathy is tricked into going on a date with Mr. Vernon, but when she overeagerly makes her first move onto him, the students appear in their cars and begin to taunt her. Running away from several carloads of her tormentors, Kathy runs onto a busy street where she is immediately hit by an oncoming car and left in a coma at the local hospital. I gotta say, I love the imagery of Kathy all beat up laying in the hospital bed with all these tubes and hoses running in and out of her nose. Very grim and creepy stuff.
Skin circulation dilated. It's like she was experiencing some violent emotion or something, but there's no brain activity.
Obviously.
Sometime later, a new girl, Eva Gordon, arrives at the school to take the place of Kathy. There's this really cool sequence right away with Eva walking up the stairs, and it keeps cutting back to show Kathy walking up the very same stairs. It's a nice little moment that really force feeds the concept of the movie to you. Eva is obviously going to be the conduit in which the comatose Kathy gets her revenge. The movie is obviously a cash-in on the success of movies like Patrick and Carrie. It's just far enough removed from those movies that it doesn't feel overly blatant, but the influences are obviously there.
Here, catch. Thanks. Hey, how did you know there was a lighter in that drawer? Everybody keeps a lighter in the drawer of their bedside table. I don't.
Neither do I.
Well, I do. Whose bed is this?
Whose bed was it?
Kathy, the maid's daughter.
As the story goes along, we later find out that Kathy's mother is the mute janitor that works at the school. It turns out that all of the rich girls bullied Kathy because, in exchange for her services, Kathy's mother was allowed to enroll her daughter in the dormitory.
You put them there. You did it. I know you did. What's going on here? Miss Williams, what's the matter? She put them in my bed. It's covered with them. I'll show you. What are you talking about, Miss Williams? What am I talking about? Just look at my bed.
In the beginning, we get a lot of this ghostly stuff with Kathy's mother that really doesn't go anywhere. I especially like this freeze frame shot with the animated glowing red eyes. I don't know if this was supposed to set her up as a red herring or what, but that plot is quickly swept under the rug the more that Eva becomes possessed with Kathy's vengeful spirit.
Spirit? Is that right? I mean, she's not technically dead. Nah, screw it. We're gonna stick with Spirit.
Probably the most famous kill scene in this movie comes really early on in the second act. One of the bullies is smothered to death in her sleep by an onslaught of murderous snails that appear and disappear at random. Meanwhile, across town, the neurologist in charge of Kathy's case, Dr. Robert Anderson, notices that Kathy's vital signs increase in step with each murderous death that happens at the girls' boarding school. But for some reason, he can't seem to make the connection.
But how could a girl weighing 110 pounds pull a 7-ton statue down on herself?
That's what we'd all like to know.
Robert, look. This isn't the first time. It's happened before.
Then there's a chance she may recover.
My favorite scene in this movie is during the field trip to the local art gallery. Grace, another one of Kathy's tormentors, returns to the gallery after it closes to search for some valuable piece of jewelry that she left behind. She stares up at this beautiful mural painted on the ceiling when it suddenly starts dripping with blood.
Blood?
Just then, a marble statue comes to life and grabs Grace by the neck, causing the two to fall to the ground and crushing Grace to death. Unfortunately, the last act of this film just sorta peters out a little bit. It's not boring by any means. In fact, we're treated to a lot of really ghostly moments. It's just sort of bland, I guess. It obviously ends with the possessed Eva being killed by unplugging Kathy's life support. Aenigma is an interesting little Italian horror movie. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's because it's ripping off two movies that had been ripped off countless times in the past decade. It really didn't need to do that so much. These problems suggest that Fulci was attempting to make a more contemporary horror film that could do well in the international market. Unfortunately, in attempting this, Fulci removed many of the individual elements that made his most successful films so unique: graphic violence, fractured dreamlike storylines, and cynical, almost nihilistic tones.
Bitch! Eva!
Why are you angry with me? What have I done?
Aenigma is not a bad film. It's just mysterious. puzzling or, at times, difficult to understand. Hey, I get it now! This movie is so meta! Enigma is, in itself, an enigma. This is Fulci's greatest film ever!
I may have a fat ass, but if you slap it again, I'll slap your face.
Oh, please.